part. So you guys talked about anorexia earlier, but there's also something else called body dysmorphic disorder. It's actually a disorder, psychiatric disorder, in which people become obsessed with this imaginary something wrong with their body. And the way you know that is, interestingly, it was described 100 years ago, before social media, before the media was out there. It's actually a psychiatric issue. It's not something you can just snap out of. And it's approximately 4% of the population, but approximately 6 to 15% of the people who show up in our plastic surgery offices. It happens to men and women equally, and it's across many countries. So it's not just the US where we have TV and the media, and it usually begins teenage years or early adulthood. And what it is this is the actual criteria from the diagnosis book that the psychiatrists use. So number one, are you very worried about your appearance in any way? Which most of us might say yes, but if it is, what are you unhappy about? The key is, do you like obsess about this thing? Do you obsess about it for over an hour every single day, about this one little acne scar that you have on your cheek or something like that, or about how your nose looks? How much time do you spend thinking about it? And I think the cutoff's about an hour a day. What effect has this preoccupation had on your life? So some people obsess so much that they can't work, they can't think, they are afraid to go out because they're afraid people are just staring at their cheek, let's say, and really nobody can even see it. So when it causes you a lot of distress and is interfering with your life, then it becomes a disorder. Or if you spend so much time obsessing about it, it becomes a disorder. So I thought you guys might want to know about that, because that's a true disorder that we, as plastic surgeons, we have to look out for when somebody comes in to want plastic surgery or wants a procedure. And the warning signs are here, but basically, like I said, if you constantly spend time obsessing about it, then it's probably an issue, and it's probably something you can get help for, and there's treatment for it, and it's not something you just snap out of. It's not like you tell your friend, hey, quit obsessing about it, because it's more than just like, sort of like telling an anorexic person, well, just eat. Do people, when they go through plastic surgery, they're happy with their plastic surgery? So I went and found a study. It was done in 2013. It was done by a professor of psychology, which is better than asking a plastic surgeon, right? Because we'll say all our patients are happy. So a professor of psychology and psychotherapy, and he studied 550 patients who had plastic surgery, who compared it to 264 patients who wanted plastic surgery but never got it, and 1,000 patients who never wanted plastic surgery anyway. And he found in those that 12%, he didn't really clarify on that, but 12% had unrealistic expectations. And that's the thing where I said, like, I think that if I get this, my whole life will change, you know, I'll be so popular, or my husband will come back to me, or something like that, something unrealistic in your life. And 87% of his cohort was women. And of those, he found that at baseline, there was no difference before surgery as far as their mental health, their life satisfaction, and depression symptoms. And after surgery, the one that did have plastic surgery actually felt healthier, were less anxious, had more self-esteem, and found themselves or body part more attractive. It had no adverse effects. So you're thinking, wait, what does that mean? Are we saying that we should all have plastic surgery? And I don't think that's the answer. And the reason is that when somebody comes in, if you're a good plastic surgeon, someone comes in to me and says, hey, I would really like whatever, you know, a facelift or breast something. I always laugh, we're kind of like psychiatrists also. I'm trying to figure out why you want this now. And sometimes people tell me, well, I just had a divorce, or my boyfriend left me, and they don't really say it, but they're thinking that, you know, if I just do this, I'll be a better person, I'll feel better about myself. And so I actually had a woman who was going through that, and I said, you know, that's a lot to go through when you're having your surgery. When you have your surgery, you want to be able to focus on healing and on yourself. You don't want all this extraneous stuff to interfere with your healing. So go and deal with whatever it is you're dealing with right now. And when you're ready and you come back, I'm not saying you can't have it, and I see what you're saying, because of course we all could have something we think you could have. Come back and see me and we can do it. She came back 2 years later, and then she said, you know, you were absolutely right. That would have been the worst time to do it. I just thought it was going to do something, and it wasn't going to do that. I still want to do it, but it was definitely a much better time in her life. And so good plastic surgeons should go through this and make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And if you're doing it for the right reasons, then you're already pre-selecting for people who are already going to be healthier, feel better about themselves because they had the surgery, because they're doing it for the right reasons. So I don't want the take-home messages that we should go out and be healthier and happier by doing plastic surgery. But if you do it for the right reasons, it can be good for some people, because plastic surgery has this continuum. There's some people who are doing it for reconstructive reasons, and some people are doing it for cosmetic, but in between there's this continuum where it's sort of a gray area. So like some women have really large breasts, and they have back pain and neck pain and shoulder pain, they can't breathe, and they'll come in and they want a breast reduction. It's the same procedure I do for somebody who's getting a cosmetic breast reduction, but they have something medical for it, and insurance actually pays for that. And so at what point do you call somebody what they're doing cosmetic versus reconstructive? It's more of a continuum, and that takes me to my last slide, which is this. You know, you guys alluded to it earlier, but why do we shame women who quote unquote let themselves go? And then on the other hand, then we impose this ideal on them. We say, why do we shame people who get plastic surgery? If you are doing it for the right reasons and you understand why, and you're doing it because of you and not because somebody else is telling you to do it, then we should support each other in the choices that we make. You know, just like the first video, if you want to wear makeup and you want to do it because it makes you feel good, then go for it. You know, all the more power to you. And if you decide, I don't want to deal with makeup, I just like myself who I am, then go for it. We should support each other in the choices that we make. And that's why I wanted to put it up there, because sometimes it really makes me sad, because I do a lot of breast cancer reconstruction, and there are women, because we're the worst on ourselves, right? Women, we feel guilty if we go to work, we feel guilty if we stay home, we feel guilty no matter what we do. And it's the same thing when they come in and they have breast cancer and they're looking at a mastectomy, and I don't know how many women have told me, I just feel so vain that I want this, you know, reconstruction. And you're like, well, you're gonna get a mastectomy, of breast cancer, you know. It's just like, yeah, but I should just be thankful that I'm alive, and I shouldn't, you know, be wanting this. And yet society tells you that. So it flips both ways, and I just, you know, part of my job is telling you shouldn't feel bad for wanting it. If it's part of you being a whole person again, it's part of your recovery, if it means that much to you. So I think that was my parting thought, is that we should, you know, support each other for the choices that we make. And finally, if you do choose a plastic surgeon, just my little PSA, you know, public service announcement, make sure you choose a plastic surgeon wisely. There are a lot of fake, well, I can't say that. There are a lot of people who are not certified actually in plastic surgery who are doing it, so you can look them up at that website, or if they're a member of the American Society of Plastic Surgeons or the American Society of Aesthetic Plastic Surgery, those are legitimate plastic surgeons. Even yesterday I got a letter that said, would you like to pay $400 and we'll call you board certified and whatever. If you pay an extra $400, we'll make you master of plastic surgery board certification or something. So just be careful. I took a look at, there was kind of a wide gap in age ranges. So the gap was kind of 20s and under, and then kind of like 40s and over. There weren't many in between. So so what I did is I looked at the girls and the boys in each of those two age groups. And very interestingly, there's a lot of, these are all teen and 20 girls, and all of them had chosen a specific feature that they liked and a specific feature that they didn't like. So it was something like, what do you like most? My eyes. What do I want to change? My stomach. What do I like most? My eyes. What do I don't like? The moles. What do I like? You know, stuff like that. So it's kind of very specific. With the boys, it was very interesting. There's not as many of them, but they were very consistent. So what I can say is you have safety in that you're very, very consistent. In that the boys basically said, what do you like? Everything. And what would you change? Why would I change it? It's impossible to change it anyway. So with the older people, there weren't very many males in this group, but also very consistent, but the gender difference seems to go away. So the focus for the older group really is no longer features. We've kind of given up on that. It's more like health. So what do you like the most? I've lived this long, healthfully, relatively healthy. What do you like most? I'm flexible, but I'm not, well, it's carpal tunnel syndrome. What do you like most? It still works. It's health related. Glasses, my brain, you know, it's basically like I like that I'm still here and I'm healthy.